How's it going, guys? I'm your host with most, the wickedest Joker in all the land, and today we are back with more Destiny. But before we get started, if you guys go ahead and ninja the crap out of that like button, you already know that your support is appreciated. So you know that moment when you're onto something? Take a look at this. This is supposed to be a rundown for the Rise of Iron DLC. Let's go ahead and take a real quick read. Destiny, Rise of Iron is the next highly anticipated expansion to the Destiny universe. The Wall, which has stood for centuries along the southern border of old Russia, has collapsed. Fallen mutants now scavenge the tombs of the Golden Age, and the plague they have unearthed in the wastes is more dangerous than they understand. Join Lord Saladin, journey into the Plague Lands, learn the fate of the Iron Lords, and stop the growing threat before it is too late. So the key points that I want to take away from this, and why I think it actually might be legit, is the wall along the southern border of old Russia has collapsed, the Plague Lands, and the Plague Fallen. So let's look at this through the lore. Now we know that the southern wall of the city is towards the Caspian Sea. We know this because in the lore, Jagi, a member of the Firebreak Titans, left the city with his host. He planned to burn everything between the city and the sea. Now, we don't know what happened to Jagi or his host. All we know is that their ghosts came back to the city and did not speak about what happened. So if there's nothing in the lore to kind of tell us what's going on, let's go ahead and do a little real-world examination of the area. If we look at the map of the Caspian Sea, we can assume that the city is off in this direction and that Jagi and his host went off in this direction. Now we know that the plan was to push the Fallen back to the Caspian Sea. We don't know what happened, we don't know if they died before then, we don't know if they pushed them back to the sea, we don't know if they pushed them back further. I'm inclined to believe that they pushed them back further, because just on the other side of the Caspian Sea is a lake called the Aerial Sea. Once one of the 4 largest lakes in the world. Now this is where the Plagued Fallen and the Plagued Lands come into play, because in the Aerial Sea there's an island known as Rebirth Island or Renaissance Island. And on that island in 1948, the Soviet Union constructed a biological weapons test site where they experimented with things including anthrax, smallpox, and the plague. And in 1954, the site was expanded. One of the main laboratories and testing sites for the Soviet Union's microbiological warfare was tasked with inventing and testing the effects of multiple fatal diseases. In 1971, an accidental release of weaponized smallpox from the island infected 10 people, of whom 3 died. In the 1990s, word of the island's danger was spread by Soviet defectors, including Ken Albeck, the former head of the Soviet Union bioweapons program. According to released documents, anthrax spores and bubonic plague were made into weapons and stored in the complex. Oh yeah, I should mention that the lake Rebirth Island sits in, the Aerial Sea, named for all the islands that once dotted it, was once 68,000 square kilometers, or 26,300 square miles. And in 2007, due to the Soviets rerouting the rivers that fed into the lake, only 10% of the lake remains. The rest of the area has turned to wasteland. So, essentially, we have our Golden Age laboratories ripe for the plunder of the Fallen, we have our wasteland, we have our historical reference point for biochemical weapons being created in the area, sci-fi those weapons up a bit, and you have zombie Fallen plague. The only hole in my theory is the fact that Jagi, to my knowledge, was not an Iron Lord. But we know he pushed out to the Caspian Sea. So, what if the Iron Lords went after him? After the ghost returned, they didn't say anything, so what if the Iron Lords went to investigate? And we can find out, potentially, not only what happened to the Iron Lords, but what happened to Jagi and his host. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below, and like always, stay frosty.